Hey guys, we are in my purse closet. My favorite row definitely would have to be the Hermes row, and I have been collecting these bags for a minute. They're also a great investment.
So, what if I told you Kylie Jenner's million-dollar closet? Yes, that designer-packed, influencer-envied sanctuary of wealth might be hiding a massive secret, not a style faux pas, not a missing Birkin. We're talking about a truth so uncomfortable, it could shake the entire foundation of luxury fashion. Because those $20,000 to $350,000 Hermes bags, they might have cost less to make than your last vacation, and they might have been stitched nowhere near France. Stick around, because what's buried behind Kylie's rainbow wall of handbags isn't just leather and labels. It's a scandal the luxury world hoped you'd never find out about. And, oh, we've got receipts. This is Chatterfuse, where celebrity glam meets corporate shade. And today, we're pulling back the velvet curtain. So hit that subscribe button if you enjoy watching the rich and fabulous realize they may have just been fabulously fooled. It's one thing to see wealth online. It's another to be swallowed by it, gliding through a room where every shelf glistens with calfskin, crocodile, and custom color codes reserved for the global elite. Kylie Jenner didn't just collect handbags. She curated a fantasy, a museum of status staged to perfection. One glance at her closet and you'd swear each bag came with a birth certificate, a Parisian artisan, and a handwritten thank you from Hermes itself. It was more than luxury. It was a symbol of exclusivity, of access, of something most people would never touch, let alone own. And that illusion? It worked. Millions watched in awe. Fashion houses courted her. Fans praised her taste. Resellers bragged about every rare piece she flaunted like it added a zero to their value. But here's the twist no one saw coming. What if that carefully lit closet, those immaculate shelves, those color-coded Birkins, weren't the gold standard? What if they were the bait? Because if even a billionaire with direct access to brand reps and VIP waiting lists wasn't getting the real story, what chance did the rest of us ever have? It wasn't about one purse. It was about the story behind it, the prestige, the fantasy of French hands and flawless heritage. And it turns out, that story may have had more marketing than truth stitched into the seams. And once that thread gets pulled, there's no stopping what unravels next. Then, just when the envy over Kylie's closet hit its peak, a grainy, low-lit TikTok appeared. No influencers, no brand deals, just a factory worker, a roll of leather, and a very familiar-looking handbag. The caption was simple, but the implications were massive. He wasn't making lookalikes. He claimed he was making the real thing, Hermès, the kind that sits on Kylie's top shelf, the kind with a price tag that could fund a college degree. And according to him, it wasn't just one bag. It was a routine, a production line, not tucked away in a quaint French atelier, but set up in a warehouse in China, where materials were stacked in bulk and stitchers worked not in solitude, but in shifts. And then came the receipts, raw cost estimates that sent shockwaves across fashion TikTok. Leather, a few $100s, labor, a few more. Hardware, zippers, lining, thread, pennies on the dollar. The total? Just under $1,400.
Watch this Chinese manufacturer break down the real cost of a Hermes bag.
One piece of Togo leather will cost 450 USD. The thread, the cost is 25 USD. The hardware will cost 150 USD. Edge oil. For each bag, it will cost 50 USD. The interior lining, for each bag, the cost will be 100 USD. And the vapor for one bag is 10 USD. The human resource cost will be 600 USD. Package, 10 USD. The total cost will be 1,400 USD.
Which is less than 3.7% of the bag's retail.
More videos followed. Other workers confirmed the process. They didn't whisper. They filmed. They posted. They showed hands moving fast over leather, logos being stamped, orders being packed in boxes marked for Europe. Suddenly, the fantasy Kylie had built an aesthetic empire around looked a whole lot more like a well-dressed secret. And as the views racked up, one question kept bubbling to the surface. If this is true, why isn't Hermes saying anything? Because silence? That's not denial. That's fear. And that's when the questions turned financial, because Kylie didn't just buy bags, she invested. Or at least, that's what the luxury world led her, and millions of others to believe. For years, fashion magazines, auction houses, even wealth advisors praised the Birkin as better than gold, appreciating assets, scarcity-driven value, luxury with a return. But let's break that down. What happens when the myth of scarcity collapses under the weight of mass production leaks? What happens when the aura of Made in France starts looking like a shipping label from Shenzhen? Simple. Value plummets. And if those bags are no longer artisanal rarities but part of a global supply chain secret, then Kylie's collection may not be an appreciating portfolio. It might be $1 million illusion. Imagine that. Every color-coded row, every limited edition skin, suddenly worth less, not more. Not because of wear or age, but because the story behind them lost credibility. And for someone like Kylie, that's not just a financial hit. It's a branding one, because when you sell style, every piece in your wardrobe is part of the pitch. So if those pieces turn out to be overpriced factory runs wrapped in a French fantasy, then the trust in the brand, and maybe even the influencer, is on the line. This isn't about resale value anymore. It's about reputational value. And for the first time, even the richest closets in Hollywood are starting to look like liabilities. And once the lawsuits hit the headlines, the internet did what it always does when corporate gloss meets public betrayal. It fought back with memes, screenshots, and zero mercy. TikTok lit up with side-by-side comparisons. One screen, Kylie's pristine closet tour. The other, dim factory footage showing rows of identical bags being stitched at high speed. Captions weren't subtle. Made in France? With a wink. Luxury or logistics? One viral clip simply said, $38,000 for what exactly? Reddit threads exploded. Fashion subforums turned into investigative hubs. Users tracked serial numbers, model codes, and shipping routes, treating every Hermes receipt like evidence in a trial. Instagram influencers began wiping Hermes tags from old posts, not because they hated the brand, but because they didn't want to look fooled. Or worse, complicit. And Twitter, a full-blown reckoning. One tweet nailed the mood. If Kylie Jenner got played, what hope do the rest of us have? But beyond the jokes, the outrage had teeth. People weren't just laughing, they were mad. Because luxury isn't sold on function, it's sold on faith. And that faith had just taken a hit straight to the hardware. Buyers began demanding transparency. Some asked for refunds. Others wanted proof their bag wasn't part of a global markup scheme dressed in silk scarves. And while Hermes stayed silent, the court of public opinion handed down its verdict. The illusion had cracked, and no amount of embossed leather was going to patch it. And as that fantasy shattered, so did the silence. Buyers weren't whispering doubts anymore. They were demanding answers, loudly, publicly, across every platform. What used to be discreet questions in boutique showrooms turned into open calls for audits. People wanted GPS coordinates, factory walkthroughs, certifications stamped in ink, not marketing language. The mood had shifted. This wasn't about envy anymore. It was about ethics. Because if consumers are shelling out the cost of a car or a college semester for a single handbag, the least they expect is honesty, not illusion, not branding wizardry, just truth. And brands weren't ready for that. For decades, secrecy had been the product. Scarcity had been manufactured, just like the bags allegedly were, and now the curtain had dropped, revealing not artisans by candlelight, but logistics spreadsheets and outsourced labor. Even celebrities began treading carefully. The loudest luxury advocates, quiet. The influencer partnerships, suddenly paused. Because once the mythology collapses, even fame can't patch it back together. This wasn't just a breach of consumer trust, it was a cultural shift. Luxury had always meant more. Now, it suddenly meant less. Not because the bags weren't beautiful, but because the story behind them couldn't hold up under scrutiny. And when the story dies, so does the value. And now, here we are. $1 million closet, dozens of viral videos, and an entire fashion empire later, still waiting for answers. What started as a glimpse into Kylie Jenner's jaw-dropping purse collection spiraled into something no one, not even Hermes, was prepared for. A full-blown crisis of trust. Because if the price tag doesn't guarantee transparency, if made in France might just mean finished in France, then what exactly are we paying for? This isn't just about handbags. It's about what happens when image outpaces integrity, when marketing becomes more valuable than materials, when even billionaires feel duped, and the public realizes they've been buying into a fantasy stitched together with silence. And that's the reckoning Hermès and the entire luxury industry is facing now. Not a call for cancellation, but a call for clarity. Show us the process, show us the people, show us the truth. Because if luxury is as real as it claims to be, it shouldn't need to hide behind lawyers and lighting. Kylie may not have intended to lead this conversation, but her closet became the stage. And now that the spotlight's on, there's no going back to shadows. You can't sell prestige without proof anymore, because in this economy, trust is the rarest material of all. And if brands can't provide that, then maybe, just maybe, the most expensive thing in Kylie's closet wasn't the bags. It was the lie. If this shook you even a little, smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Chatterfuse for more stories that peel back the gloss and go straight for the truth. Because next time you see a $38,000 price tag, you'll know better than to just admire the stitching.